Okay. Thank you, Craig. Hey! So, me, Retro Prime TF, we're back with another episode of the Pitch Crystal podcast. Hope you're doing swell, hope you're doing good. Love you guys. So Keno couldn't be in this episode, but we still got the OGs, Tayden and Esper. Introduce yourselves, going with Tayden first.
What's up, niggas?
As always. Now you.
What's up, y'all?
Yeah. All right. Okay, right into it. So in today's episode, we are going to be talking about generally Marvel, not just the MCU, but just Marvel in general. And we're going to begin with Volume 3. Now, I have to give heavy warnings. There are most likely going to be spoilers in this. So please do not get in the comments. Like, I'm telling you right now, spoilers, okay? Like, don't be some fucking motherfucker in the comments just going like, oh, you spoiled it for me. No. I'm giving you a clear spoiler warning right now. Get the fuck up out of here if you haven't seen VOL3, okay? So, yes. So, yeah. So, I'm gonna try not. I'm
Watch
not gonna
Volume
talk
3
as
is
much
peak.
in this one, only because I have a little bit of a sore throat, and I've been talking on call for a while now, so I need to like rest my voice a little bit. But I'm gonna let these guys go on their little tangents or whatever. But yeah, you guys can begin.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so first things first, I just want to say I don't understand the hate for this movie. I really don't. Like, I know people like it, but I see people say like, "Oh, I liked it, but it's just not that good," or "Oh, I liked it, but it's got a lot of problems." And every time I hear people say that, I don't understand how that's possible. Because when I watched this movie, I went into it with like the idea of, okay, yeah, let me watch this with my own, my own thoughts, nobody else's. And I watched the movie all the way through, and I literally just said, how did people actually like say this wasn't that good? This is like, in my opinion, at least, like the best one in the trilogy. And it kind of makes me upset that some of the critiques of this film are like things like, oh, Adam Warlock sucks, or the High Evolutionary is a pretty lame villain, or this, that, and the other, or like, or Rocket's the main character, and that's pretty lame because it's more about him than the Guardians. But it's like, if you actually paid attention to the film, you would actually know that there's more to this stuff than just these really baseless claims. Let alone the Adam Warlock thing really probably only happened because the Russo bros kind of screwed his plans, which a genuine shame. But hey, go figure what you want about fucking the Russo bros. Because here's my thing: I appreciate what they did in Infinity War, but at the same time, that kind of messed up some of the things that James probably had planned.
I completely agree. Honestly,
so
I really don't understand the hate for this movie.
Oh God, bro! Like most of the people who shit on this film really don't get what the fuck is supposed to be going on, and I'll tell you this much, man. Even if you don't like this movie as much as I do, which you don't have to like it as much as me, don't act like this movie is like
it's by far best since
because I can name like
easily.
a couple of MCU flicks that are low standard.
Yeah.
I'm
disagreeing.
And another thing too, oh wait, were you gonna say something, Red? But another thing too about this movie that I really liked was like the whole like animal abuse subject, because you don't really see that in a lot of movies now, which I can honestly not really name that many animal based films that deal with the subject of like animal abuse. And this movie like put that idea in perfectly and made me care about a raccoon, an otter, a rabbit, and a walrus. I mean, I like those animals in real life, but these animals, they were actual characters, and somehow this movie made me get really sad when they all bit the dust.
Oh my god! Like, okay, I just like to say one thing about that: the death of Tief's, Floor, and Lila, and also the scene where Rocket almost dies. Listen, man, those fucking scenes legitimately broke me. Okay, like, listen, I like Endgame, and Tony's sacrifice is genuinely like it still hurts, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Honestly, it hit me harder than when Tony died. Like, that is just the way it is, okay? And not to devalue the sacrifice. Like, I think that's a amazing like way to death, but like it just, for some reason, it just hit me so much fucking harder when, shut the fuck up. But it hit me so much harder than when Tony died. But yeah.
On God. And here's my thing. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like, because I don't really watch Endgame that much anymore, because I don't really think it's as good as I used to think when I first watched it. But like, whenever I would watch Endgame and I would see Tony die, I always say in the back of my head, man, like, I really wish it didn't have to be like that, but it just had to be like that because
Yeah.
and I mean, obviously Tony was gonna have to go at some point because
Oh my
RDJ can't keep playing this
Such a
character
good
forever.
fucking movie, man.
Yeah.
And
Honestly.
hmm?
Oh, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but
Oh, no, it's fine. It's
easily,
fine. Go ahead.
easily the best ending that any of these characters could have had. Like, I used to, not like what they were doing with after Infinity War because I feel like he got sidelined in those movies because his goal was to kill Thanos, and I feel like he didn't really get the proper shot at that, and I feel like this movie like really, redeemed him that way, and like I don't know, I feel like they did like a good reset with his character, and I really like the direction they're taking him.
Mm-hmm. Swear dog. Like, another thing I want to bring up real quick is, so the High Evolutionary as a villain. I'd like to talk about this real quick and give my thoughts. Okay, so here's the thing. I really don't like in media how we have this expectation of like, oh, what makes a good villain is if like I understand their motives and like, oh, there's like some likability to them or whatever, like they have like a good reason for what they do, they're like sympathetic. Listen, that is not true. That is not what makes a great villain. That is still great writing for a villain. If you understand the perspective of a villain and like there's something that like you can relate to with them, that is great. But for me, and this isn't even like personal taste, is just, it's a fact that you don't have to be sympathetic to be a good villain. Really, what makes you a good villain, in my opinion, is one of three things. And there is more to it, but like specifically three things, which is threat level, as in like the intimidation factor of said villain. How fucking like sorry. How like well they pull off their specific villain role, because there's like multiple types of villains. Like the ones you see the most are either just like pure evil, the ones where like you hate that you like them, or the ones that you love that you hate them. Like a good example is, I forgot his name, but there's this one guy from the Clone Wars, um, who was just this fucking dickhead and just like, he's like a Jedi master, or was he I don't remember. The point is, he was some four-armed motherfucking dipshit, and fuck that guy because he cared nothing about the fucking clones. I hated that motherfucker. He was a good villain, but like fuck that guy. Um, so like just like, yeah, the intimidation, how well they fucking portray their specific villain role, and also just fucking how, because like, oh my god, like for me, I love villains where like they're fucking evil, because I love pure evil villains, because I mean there's just more to do there, because if they're always sympathetic, like I don't mind sympathetic villains, but if every villain ever is sympathetic, I just have this feeling of like they don't, like people don't understand that there are actual like pure evil motherfuckers in real life. Like there's nothing to justify what these people do. So like all this fucking thing in media where it's like, oh, you have to be a sympathetic villain to be like a good villain is so stupid to me. You were like, oh, the High Evolutionary wasn't that great of a villain because like, oh, he yells a lot and like really really just like incompetent villains are the ones that yell a lot, even though that is not true. Like it might be true in some cases, but not every case. So the High Evolutionary being a quote unquote mid villain just because he yells a lot and there wasn't any like reason to why he did the things he did, even though the point is that that guy is deranged. He has a god complex. He literally calls himself God at one point.
Yeah.
I said this before, but there's literally a line. Like I forgot the exact wording and phrasing, but there's literally a line where he basically said there's no God, so he had to step up.
Mm-hmm. So it's like the guy has an ego on him, okay? And him being the way he is, how cruel he is, makes sense. And also, it's comic accurate. I consider High
Oh wait a
Evolution.
minute, I just realized something.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was intentional or not, but like I just realized that all three of the main villains for each Guardians film had like some egotistical plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like
I just
how
now realized
yeah, like how Ronan Ronan literally betrayed Thanos and just said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna take over the whole universe myself and rule over all of it." And
Mm-hmm.
then Ego's name is literally Ego, so I
Yeah.
mean,
yeah.
nothing else to really explain there. And how Revolutionary literally just sees him as like he sees himself as a god.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that works in the concept of the story. Because honestly, people saying, "Oh, I wish he like had some good reason for doing the things he does," dude, that would have ruined his character in terms of like the context of the story. Him being a cruel, sadistic bastard is exactly what the story needs in order for Rocket's origins to work. Because could you imagine how fucking horrible the whole point would have been if the guy who literally tortures Rocket for all of his almost his entire fucking life is like, oh, but no, there's a sympathetic reason for why he's this way. Fuck off, dude.
You know another thing too? Another thing about that also makes me kind of mad is like okay, so like you know how like the High Evolutionary has like a I can't think of another word for it, but like he has a fake face after Rocket like messes his face up. That's
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that lets you know that he cares a little too much about his image.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is extremely egotistical, cares about his image, and thinks that everything needs to be perfect like him because he's perfect, he's untouchable, and everything should be like him. And if it isn't, death to them all. But like, what gets me about the idea of like him having a air quotes reason, even though like, he already has a reason, and I'm not gonna say it's a good or bad reason. It's just like there's this quote that I kind of like, but it's like there's no such thing as like necessarily good or bad ideals per se. It's more of just how you go about them. Because you could say something like, "Oh yeah, I have to kill people," but what if it's like for the rights of your country? Like you want to protect people, so by protecting them, you got to kill niggas, like that kind of stuff. And it's like with him, it's like building a society that runs functionally. Like yeah, that's a good idea, but it's just the way he went about it was horrible, and he clearly does not care enough about these people because like Quill pointed out, there's literally cockroaches selling meth, which I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of funny they got meth in a Marvel movie. Never thought I'd see the
Mm-hmm.
day where Breaking Bad would be in Marvel,
Yeah.
but okay. Freaking Walter
Yep.
White is in there. But yeah, it's like for him to have like a sympathetic reason would be kind of like the thing that I liked about him was that he was a horrible person. So I liked the fact that I could hate him. Like you don't really see that in a lot of MCU films. Like there are villains in the MCU that I hate, not because they're bad people, but just because they fucking suck. And this was the
Mm-hmm.
one guy who was an exception where like I hated him. I wanted him dead. Like when his fucking like when he was sitting there suffering on the ground and like all the guardians were beating his ass, I was like, finally. And seeing him just lie there and just like basically bleed, I was like, it's about fucking time, man.
Mm-hmm. Like I swear. But yeah. So the High Evolutionary, great fucking villain. I love the role he played. Um, But again, that whole thing of like, oh, he yells a lot, even though again he's egotistical, he's gonna yell at people who he sees inferior to himself. Okay. Also, I don't know if people know this, but villains can have anger issues. Not every fucking villain has to be subdued. Granted, most of my favorite villains in fiction are subdued and calm and collected, but that's not the exception to the rule, okay? You can have good villains that have a fucking temper. You can have villains that don't have that are very collected. Like, bro, like you can have psychopathic villains and you can have fucking just sympathetic villains. There is such a huge spectrum of different types of great villains you can have. So it's not just limited to them being sympathetic. I fucking hate how every villain has to be sympathetic. You make a villain movie, let's make him sympathetic. It's like, bro, it's a movie about a villain.
To add on to what Red was talking about with the like the anger thing with the villains, here's my thing. I don't mind when a villain gets angry because that tells me one of two things. Either they are very fucked in the head or they are extremely desperate to get what they want. Like and I kind of I don't mind either one of those. I mean, preferably I like the desperation just because it shows how important this goal is to this villain in particular, whether they be a sympathetic or non-sympathetic. It shows that they are still so desperate to achieve their goals that they're starting to lose their temper. Like, but I prefer whenever it's a villain who's mostly calm and collected throughout the story. But as soon as things start to go awry, they start to like panic a bit, and like I said, it makes them a little more like I feel like it makes them a little more real that they're reacting like that. Like they're but if they're always angry, always bitching and moaning, always being grumpy and always screaming, it kind of makes me just not like care about them that much if all they do is complain about every single thing that goes wrong. Like I prefer when a villain has like something go wrong and he's like, "Don't worry, I got a contingency plan for this." But when like he's right at the precipice of winning and it goes completely south, I prefer that's when they get angry, not when they're like that. See, that's why I also don't like Kylo Ren because anytime there was a minor inconvenience, guess what he started doing? This nigga started raging about it, and I remember just being like, okay, this is kind of getting a little out of hand. Like the first time, okay, maybe. Second time, okay, pushing it. Third time, yeah, give up.
Yeah. So I think I brought this up in the last episode. I don't know, but I brought this up how that could have all been like okay if like it was a genuine character flaw, like something that gets brought up later. But no, just never gets brought up. He just has a fucking temper for no reason, really.
Oh god, bro. And yeah, like I said, like villains that have like like temperament moments where like they start to break character a bit. That's fine. Just do it in the right way, and that's why I liked some of the high evolutionaries moments because he only did that when things weren't going his way, which is also another character trait that I like about him. That because of his narcissism, he's like so conceited to the idea that, oh yeah, I'm always going to win because I'm smarter and better than you people. And these people who are not perfect and not godly start to beat him. He starts to panic and he's like, bro, what the fuck? And that I like
Yeah.
that.
Another thing that like proves that whole thing you just said is remember the scene when he starts like getting mad at Rocket? Or not mad, but like he starts like screaming at Rocket because like he figured out how the fuck to like properly create the fucking humanimal. I don't remember how the fuck it was pronounced.
Yeah,
But,
like he like I like how that scene just shows like how he just doesn't like the idea of anybody being like superior to him. Like he was that mad that Rocket is the one who figured it out.
yeah, exactly. He was losing his fucking mind.
Yeah, he literally the other thing that I also like here's the thing, granted he obviously didn't know Rocket actually gave himself the name Rocket, but the idea that he keeps calling Rocket by like the code number shows that he's basically just degrading this dude.
Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, oh my god. Dude, when he's like, the name's Rocket, Rocket Raccoon, bro, that shit went
Oh
Oh
hard.
god.
that scene was so epic, bro.
Mm-hmm. She was so
I never
cool.
thought I'd get so excited over a character just saying their fucking name, but well, here we are.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. Also, I'd like to say that if you guys are wondering why we're not going too in depth when it comes to every little detail, it's because we've talked about this in private calls, so I feel like we're kind of run out. We don't like want to go across the same subjects too much that we have in like our private time.
Yeah.
So if we're not going too in depth into like the entire movie, that's why, because we already have in private calls.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, two more subjects I think we can talk about, which is okay, the issues that people are having with the PG rating or PG-13 rating.
Oh my gosh, bro. Don't even get me started on this.
I don't understand how
Yeah.
people are like getting so upset about that because it's PG-13, but I feel like Marvel has misconstrued the idea that PG-13 is like, oh yeah, you should still censor stuff. Like, dude, I've seen like a plethora of PG-13 films that still had like moments that like weren't even too bad. Like there was like a bit of blood and like I want to say light gore, like nothing like super crazy, but like there was like when the High Evolutionary's face was fucking peeled off. When they showed it, I was not expecting that to actually be in the film. So when it was, I was like, I was grossed out because I mean the nigga looked ugly as shit. But I was also just like, yo, they actually put this shit in here. That's cool, you know. And
Uh,
and oh my gosh, bro, don't even get me started on like F-bomb stuff. I fucking hate that Marvel gave this idea that you can't put an F-bomb in a PG-13 movie or else, oh no, it's bad. Like, I remember for the longest time thinking, like, what's wrong with them putting one F-bomb in one of these movies? Like, in the scene in Endgame when Banner's like, shut the front door, that would have been the perfect time for him to say, shut the fuck up.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Like, bruh. Because, like, the whole thing with PG-13, because the thing is, people don't realize how much you can get away with in a PG-13 rating. And I swear, this movie shows the shit you can get away with in a PG-13 rating. And I swear, people who are like, oh, but the kids, bro, it's called PG for a reason, parental guidance. It's as a parent, you're supposed to be like, okay, this is suitable for my child. It's the same reason that the games have ratings. Fucking the mature rating. You idiots! I swear, the same people that got mad at this movie being too scary and they said fuck, they said the fuck word, are the same parents that bought their little kids GTA 5.
Oh god.
Yeah. Or like bought their kids Mortal Kombat.
Uh-huh. It's like, it's your job as a parent, okay? Do not expect the internet and movies to parent your kids. You parent your kids. I swear. I can't stand when parents have kids and they don't know how to fucking properly parent. I hate that shit. Bro, I don't even have kids, and I bet I'd be a fucking better. Jesus fuck.
I don't know why they're so scared of like one F-bomb too. And like it's not like these movies, like some of the movies that use F bombs are putting in your face. Like I remember this one scene in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes where they dropped an F bomb, but it was so casual that I didn't even notice. And it was when some motherfucker Gary Oldman talking about some, are you out of your fucking mind? But they didn't like hold attention to it. He just said it casually, and I was like, wait, did he just drop the F bomb? Those are the F bombs I prefer in a PG-13 film. And Guardians Volume 3 kind of did that. I mean, granted, it's still the joke, but it's like, hey man, at least the joke was fucking funny.
Mm-hmm. Or another great example is
The
in the
fucking door.
Open the fucking door. I love the little emphasis on the fuck too that that Chris.
It sounded like Chris was finally happy to drop the F bomb.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they've in the Batman when the commissioner was like, "Well, happy fucking Halloween!" Like, hey, let's go. Like, shit, man. So yeah, PG-13 ratings, yeah, you can get away with a lot. It's just this idea that PG-13 means, oh, it's for the family. No, it's not. Like, bruh. Like, do not bring your fucking kids under 13 to this fucking movie. Like, you can. I mean, you know, I was raised on fucking Friday the 13th and the Predator movies, but still. Like, don't fucking do that. It's your job as a parent to decide what your kids watch, okay? Until they're of that age where they can decide for themselves, okay? Like, it pisses me off, I swear, so much. It's, like, honestly, I've said this on private calls. I still stand by this. The Venom movies could have worked. Maybe not. Okay, I don't think so for Let There Be Carnage. I still stand by that should have been fucking R-rated, and I still stand by they fucked over Carnage's whole character. The whole aesthetic of Carnage is fucking gone, and now the entire general audience just thinks, oh, Carnage is just some fuckface. Like, no, he's awesome. I fucking love Carnage in the comics. Like, the whole point of Carnage is he's a fucking just deplorable character. You are not supposed to like him.
Honestly, the only reason
all.
that you
Yeah,
can honestly
Carnage.
find a reason to like Carnage is one of two things: design or cool factor, I guess. And but even then, bro, like, okay, I'm not even. Listen, bro, I love Carnage, but I really do hate when people compare him to Joker. I know why, because they're both psychopaths and stuff. But it's like, whenever they do that, I'm like, you guys do realize that Joker kind of sort of had like a decent life, but Carnage, nigga Cletus was just like, damn, I love killing people.
Mm-hmm. I still stand by the fact that Carnage might be one of the most horrible characters in comics. Not like, oh, he's badly
He's
written, but like, nah, just
irredeemable.
like as a person, yeah, he's just So, but yeah, anyway, back to my point. But like, I still stand by this. At least the first Venom movie, shit could have worked in PG-13, but
Yeah.
they utilized one fuck, which was okay, I guess, and they didn't have blood. Here's the thing, okay? I understand no gore, okay, because that makes sense. You know, no gore in the PG-13 movie, that makes perfect sense. Say that for R-rated movies, but having shit that's like suggestive and still having blood isn't an issue. Because there's scenes where Venom clearly bites off a motherfucker's head, but you don't see it. It's either off screen or like it happens and like his back is turned to the camera. So, if you have that, that's fine, but at least have blood. If there's no blood splat, honestly, it doesn't even have to be red. If it was just black blood splatter, because you could just say like, "Oh shit, it's nighttime. It looks black." But honestly, just some type of fucking blood splatter, boom, immediately makes it much more realistic that he just bit off motherfucker's head off. Because if he's biting off a guy's head and there is no blood, you fucking lost
Oh
me.
god.
Yeah, bro. Like literally that scene in the jail whenever Carnage bites off the warden's head, it looks so goofy and cartoony because there's no blood. And it looks
Mm.
ridiculous, bro. Like, and the fact that they tried to like kind of redeem Carnage at the end of, like, I
They
wouldn't
tried
say
to make you
redeem, but
feel bad for
have
him
a
because he was all
sympathize
like,
with
I
him.
just wanted a friend,
Yeah.
Eddie.
It's like, yeah, it's like, bro, even the comics doesn't try to make you sympathize with Carnage. Sure, we know that he was like kind of abused by his mother, but he still had no reason to kill a girl because she rejected him in school. He just in the comics, he's just a horrible person.
Yeah, he's fucking
Yeah, and
deplorable.
that's what I like about Carnage. He's like, that's what I like about most villains from the comic books. Like, they'll have their few reasons here and there for being evil, but for the most part, there's like at least like 10 Marvel and DC characters, or not characters, but DC villains you can name off right now that are like horrible people. And I kind of prefer it to be that way
Mm-hmm.
instead of them having this, oh, you got to feel bad for them. The one time I excused it was Thanos, because I actually do appreciate that Thanos had a reason in the movie other than just, damn, I really need to stick my dick in death. Because I'm gonna be honest, I was never a big fan of like that idea for Thanos in the comics. Don't get me wrong, I still thought he was a cool character and, one of my favorite Marvel villains in the comics. But I'm gonna be honest, the movie made me connect to Thanos way more than in the comics. But you know,
Right.
oh my gosh, bro. Okay, hold on, real quick about the blood thing, because I was trying to think of other PG-13 films that had blood. Dude, I don't know if you guys remember this, but there's this one scene in Alien versus Predator where there was this guy. He was leaning on a wall,
Mhm.
like laid out, and he was on a wall, but he was still alive. And each of the predators were just walking by him. And I don't remember which one it was. I know it wasn't. It couldn't have been Celtic. It might have been. I don't know. It's been a while since I watched that movie, but it was either like the main one that we follow or like the other one that died. But one of those two fucking like killed him, and they did it off screen. But when they shot like another scene, it showed like the blood splatter all over the wall. And Venom could have easily done
Mhm.
something like that, where like he bites into the dude's head, and then when he rips it off, like you see blood splatter on like the car or the ground or something.
Mhm. Like another great example, honestly, the fucking Weapon X massacre in Age of Apocalypse.
Yep.
Yeah,
They even
I
Shit.
had
hate
blood
that
on his
movie.
knuckles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really hate that movie, but that is easily like the best scene in the movie.
Oh my god, yeah. Like that one scene, it didn't make up for it, but that one scene was better than the entirety of X-Men Origins.
Yeah, literally.
Like, bruh, it was so cool. I love how like he even had like the head harness. It wasn't
Yeah.
really like the comics, but it was still close enough. I was so fucking
Nah, bro,
happy.
you know what's crazy, man? I don't know if y'all remember this, but nigga, freaking, I almost said Age of Apocalypse. Like this is the like this is the comic, but bro, there's literally a scene where Jean Grey is ripping this nigga to shreds, and you can see like the inner meat in the bone. And that movie still
Uh-huh.
passed for PG-13.
Another example, when fucking Angel is getting turned into Archangel. Bro, that shit was nasty.
Yeah, bro. They got away with that.
That nigga was suffering though.
Mhm. But yeah, so you can get away with a lot of shit. Honestly, here's the thing. I still hope the rumor of Blade being R-rated is true, but if it's PG-13 and they do shit like this, I'm cool with it. I don't think they're gonna, but like if they were to do shit like that, cool. That's fucking awesome.
Yup.
God damn, bruh. And
Ow.
okay, now another thing I want to bring up about Guardians. Now, the whole thing about Adam Warlock. Now, I'll let you guys go first.
Okay. Like I kind of touched on earlier, like it's kind of obvious James had plans, but they probably were like because of the Russo Bros stuff, James didn't get the chance to do it. And that was like hold on, 2017. That was like 6 years ago. Yeah, like I think like 6 years ago that volume 2 came out. I think it came out in 2017. And
Damn.
and that the end of the movie, and not the end, but like one of the credit sequences shows like freaking Aisha going all like, I'll name him Adam. So you're thinking, oh shit, man, this dude Adam's gonna show up soon. But then like Infinity War and stuff is coming out, and so you're thinking, oh my god, Adam's gonna be in those movies. Nope. Even though he's in the comic storyline for it. And here's the thing, okay, maybe you could have slid by with Infinity War, but Endgame, you had the perfect opportunity for Adam Warlock to like. Actually, no, I take it back because my original idea was he's the one who saves Tony. No, you know what you could have had? You could have had this nigga flown to Earth and be the one to take out like the space fleet at the end of the movie. Would it have been a little
Mm.
contrived? Yeah, sure, but at least it would have like established that he already showed up. Why? Because the nigga Adam was probably like, hey, there's a big ass battle going on here. So he goes there and he's like, it's Wanos, and but instead it was Captain
Mm-hmm.
Marvel who did that. And I'm not even saying that because I have a Captain Marvel hate bias. I'm just saying I generally think it would have been better for Adam to be in this film than her.
Right.
Especially because like she does like very little of anything. So it's like her role could have easily been replaced with him where he just shows up like the two times that he does. And but he doesn't. So we didn't get to see this guy for like 6 years. And when we do, here's my thing. I like Adam in this movie. I really do, and I think he's cool, and I want to see more of him in the MCU. When and where and how, I don't know, but I just want to see more of him because I think he's a pretty nice addition to the team. But it's like I feel like him in this movie was a little bit of like a push to the side thing because we had to focus on the stuff with Rocket. Like, granted, the thing with Adam was that, I mean, it kind of fits into the theme of the film because like he's like perfect in like in the body, but like his mind is he's kind of naive. Like, he's not retarded or childish per se, but he's not very bright, and that kind of fits into the like the way of the film where it's like you got like the perfect looking being, but in mind, like mentality, they're not all that.
Exactly.
But
Yeah, I completely agree, honestly. Like, I don't know where people are coming from, where, you know, in the comics, Adam is like this, you know, powerful, smart character. And people need to understand that, you know, obviously the MCU has done different takes on so many characters, like, you know, fucking the original Ant-Man and Wasp, you know, Janet and Hank, you know, they've, you know, obviously aged them up so they could do Scott and Hope as their Ant-Man and Wasp. And, you know, not many people seem to mind that, you know. And then, but whenever it comes to a character like Adam Warlock, people are just absolutely rioting.
oh god,
Like, I like Adam too, but just because this is literally his first, like, they need to keep in mind this is his first movie in the fucking universe, and this is pretty much his origin. We like, who says he can't grow as a character in the future? Like, who says he can't grow into who he's gonna be in the comics later?
Absolutely.
Like, who
oh
he
god.
is. You know?
And another thing that that gets me, I remember when people were like complaining, they're like, "Oh, he's not gold enough." Even though here's the thing, I don't think a lot of people realized, which is he's actually the exact same gold from the fucking Sovereign from Volume 2. What you have to realize is that the Sovereign from Volume 2 were like in fucking gold, like yellow lighting. So that just like emphasized the goldness of the paint or like the face paint. So I remember when people were like, damn, it looks really cheap. He's not
Yeah,
gold enough.
like listen,
I mean, he's
the nigga's gold. Like, if you look at the scene at the end, or like the end of the movie, where like it's the new Guardians, and you know they're all like sitting in there talking about like different songs, and that nigga, like, it pans to him and he's talking about like King Crimson and shit. And you know, like, you see him in that lighting, and it's like, yeah, he's the same gold as the other Sovereign members. It's just that when they were in their home base, their entire planet is just gold. So of course they're gonna be super bright.
ever heard of color theory, dickhead?
Clearly not. Jesus.
Yeah.
But yeah, also it doesn't really matter that much because I mean, to be fair, Adam Warlock, even in the comics, depending on who's drawing him, is either just like a very fucking kind of yellowish tan, or he's just straight up
Yeah.
yellow, okay? So like half the time he's not even like fully fucking gold in the comics.
Well,
So like
their
what's the
issue
issue?
is, I'm not even gonna make that shit ass joke.
But yeah, so to give my thoughts, I genuinely liked Adam Warlock. It's much as the same what these other two Bellans just said, but yeah, it's I really liked Adam Warlock in this. Could he have been in the movie more? Sure, but if I had to pick between the Adam Warlock story and the Rocket one, I'm gonna pick the Rocket one 10 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay,
Easily.
10 out of 10, I'm gonna pick the Rocket story because it's so much better. And not to like throw any shade at like the Adam Warlock part or like the possible Adam Warlock move, or like, oh, he would have fought them. But like it was said earlier, I feel like he was setting up Adam Warlock for like the fucking Infinity Gauntlet story that they were doing. Setting him up, probably wasn't expecting to like have him introduced in the third one. I'm expecting that fucking he would have probably already been introduced in another movie, and then like he just appears again in Guardians 3 to like fuck him up. But
You
that
know,
didn't happen because they fired him for some tweets
you
that
know, another thing
weren't
too
even that bad.
about Adam's inclusion in this movie, like when people say there should have been more focus on Adam, let me ask you this. Realistically, what would Adam have done other than just keep chasing the Guardians? It would have literally just been like Winter Soldier, but like space. And I don't think I really would have enjoyed this movie that much if it was just
Mm-hmm.
Adam Warlock chasing the Guardians.
Uh-huh. Also, another thing is I like how people are like, "Oh, I couldn't take him seriously." Bro, did you see the first scene of the movie?
Yeah, bro, I was actually scared.
The first scene of the film lets you know that it lets you know that Adam is kind of something not like if this guy was actually smart, like if he wasn't naive as he was, if he was actually as intelligent as he is in the comics, this guy probably would have bodied them really
Yeah,
fast.
Bro, he would have
like
killed
people need to
them.
understand. Adam in the comics is literally
Like,
power
shit.
enough to wield all Infinity Stones. He's literally Thanos level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the guy is literally revered as like one of the two main enemies of Thanos, along with fucking Marvel. Like, bro.
Yeah, and they kind of got that right in the movie. It's just that, like I said, he's just naive because they got him out of the cocoon a little too early, from what Aisha said.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I did like Adam. I'm looking forward to seeing him in the future. One thing I hope they do in the future is if we are gonna get this new Guardians team, which I hope we do, um, if we are gonna get them like as a permanent like showing up all the time, dude. Personally, I would love to see if like now this is just personal taste. I don't know about you guys, but I would love to see if like the Guardians, like obviously they still have the uniform, but like they all have like their individual uniforms. Because one thing I liked about the uniforms in the comics is how each uniform was like fitting with each member. So for example, Adam Warlock, like when he was on the Guardians team and he had the uniform, he had like his skirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like he had like the skirt piece.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a really cool character design, and I like that. So I hope that like maybe in the future, if like they appear again with the uniforms, which I feel like for me at least, I feel like that it would be weird if they don't appear in uniform next time we see them, because I mean they established they have uniforms now. But I would love if like they all have like their individual suits, just like emphasize. Oh yeah, they all have like different sets of abilities, and but yeah, that's just like personal taste. But yeah, I would love to see more of Adam in the future. I would also love to see him with like the longer hair because I'm very used to seeing him with the long hair.
You
But
know,
yeah.
there's actually something I want to touch on real quick because, like, this is relating to the treatment of Gunn's character. Well, I don't want to say his characters because I mean he doesn't own these characters, but like
Yeah.
he did oversee and write them in his own in the movies about them. So it's like
Mm.
he has a contract to the characters, but like when they fired him and like in the time in Infinity War Endgame, like they credited him. But I'm gonna be honest, there is no way he was actually like or had any involvement with those films because the way that they treat the Guardians, it kind of frustrates me. The only
Mhm.
Guardian that seems, or the only two Guardian members that seem competent is Rocket and Nebula. Those are the only two
Honestly.
ones that seemed like competently written. Because like for Rocket, it was the scene where like he was like time to be the captain, and he starts talking to Thor about like like some of his issues, which actually looking back on it now, when he's like dead brother, huh? And I forgot what he said, but I know he was basically saying like, that can be an issue. Looking back on it, maybe he was talking about Teefs because go figure. But
Mhm.
but like anyways, he's sitting there listening to Thor like explain his problems, and he's asking Thor like, "Are you sure you're up to this?" And Thor budges a tear out while Rocket is kind of being supportive of him, which it's like that's something we didn't see Rocket do in the first film when he first showed up. This guy was a dickhead, but he actually learned to be a nice person and hear other people out. And then like with Nebula, like you have Endgame where she's talking to past Nebula and telling her like, yo, like, you don't want this. This is just what Thanos is forcing you to do. Because, Nebula realizes that she doesn't have to listen to her bitch ass dad. But, like, then you get the rest of them. Now, I'll let Gamora slide, I guess, because, she didn't really do anything at fault, but she didn't really do anything, like, super great. But then you have, like,
Mhm.
Quill, Drax, Mantis, and Groot. Groot is really fucking annoying as teen Groot, and I understand the joke. It's because he's a teenager, but it's like most of his screen time was him just being a little prick, and it's like in my opinion, like
Mhm,
the film's his worst version of Groot next to Baby Groot. But that's not saying Baby Groot sucks. It's just that he didn't really do a lot. But then there's also like
mhm,
Mantis, where and I said this before in a private VC, but I'm gonna say it here in the podcast. Okay, so Guardians Volume 2, if I remember correctly, happens only a couple months after the first one. Only a few months,
mhm.
which means that it still took place in 2014. And Infinity War, I think, takes place in. No, yeah, it takes place in
Eight,
2018 because the 5 year time
yeah,
skip is in 2023. But so it's 2018, right? And they're the Guardians of the Galaxy. They've been all across it. So you think that Mantis would know what nowhere is because they've been there multiple times, and you think that she know what it is by this point. But when Thor was like nowhere, she looked fucking clueless, and I always laughed at that because like how do you not know what that is? But you've been with them for 4 fucking years. Let alone she looks like she's still suffering from social like skills, even though it's been 4 years with the Guardians. You should be like completely comfortable with them now, not acting like how she was in Volume 2, where she was like really naive and slow.
exactly. And like another fucking like proof of like how I feel like Gunn was already gonna have her like be smarter at some point is fucking Guardians 3. Notice, granted, she's still a little naive, but that has more to do with just her personality. It's not her intelligence, dude. So like she's way more social, way more like outgoing. But then, in fucking volume 2, she literally has not spent any fucking social time with anyone but my boy Kurt Russell, okay? So
Yeah,
so it's clear that like Gunn was gonna have her be smarter, but then like they just regressed
Yeah,
her
like
in
I
fucking
feel like I feel like
in
in Infinity War and Endgame they did a lot of things to the Guardians that James didn't really agree with. Like I said this before, but I remember saying that I feel like Star Lord losing his mask, because he lost in Volume 2. That's why Yondu had to save him. I feel like that was supposed to be a permanent change. That's why he doesn't have it in Volume 3. But and, he has it back in Infinity War.
mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, it's just
Yeah.
kind of odd.
Mm-hmm. Not to mention Star Lord's a fucking idiot in those two movies. Cause dude, I swear, I hate how it's like, oh, Star Lord was always an idiot. No, he was a little quirky, but he was never a fucking
here's the thing
dumbass.
about Quill. He's like dumb, but not in the literal sense of being like an idiot. He's just kind of slow to some things, and things may go over his head. But he's clearly smart. This guy knows how to work a fucking spaceship back together. This guy literally made like a helmet out of an an earpiece. This guy has two fucking rocket blasters that he put together himself and learned how to use while he was a kid.
Yeah,
So he's obviously a pretty smart dude and has common sense. And listen, here's the thing. I know why he hit Thanos. Like I know why. Not only just the whole like, oh yeah, that was meant to happen, so that in game could happen, and then Tony would make the sacrifice. I get that, but I mean, it is still that kind of thing where it's like the writers clearly chose this to be a thing. Like whether or not it was the point or it was supposed to happen, this is still a decision by the writers. And making Quill do that, it's like a double edged sword because on one hand, it makes sense because look at the way he reacted when Ego told him that he basically killed his mom. Quill shot the shit out of him before he could even get like a full sentence out, and not even realizing that his dad could probably like heal or regenerate from that. He just shot him like a bunch, not even caring. But like, and he does the same thing with Thanos when Thanos says, "I had to," after he asks, like, "Did you kill her?" And I get why he hit him, but there clearly could have been another way they could have done that without Quill being like the reason at fault. That a lot of people would be like, "Oh, it's Quill's fault. Quill's a dumbass. Quill's a terrible character because he's the reason that everybody died at the end of Infinity War."
Mm-hmm. And also, I'd like to clear up that listen, this isn't any hate towards the Russo bros because I mean they've made like two of my favorite Marvel movies ever, which are Civil War and mostly Winter Soldier. I fucking love those two movies. So they're clearly really good writers. It's just that I feel like they're not great when it comes to like adapting characters from other like directors. Like they clearly didn't know what to do with the Guardians because like they don't know how to write them clearly, and they could
Yeah,
have just gone to Gunn for fucking guidance, but they didn't. Because like there's no obligation to go to Gunn for it because he
yeah.
doesn't own the
Honestly,
characters, but they could.
honestly, what
Oh
especially
Jesus,
bothers me is
yeah.
that characters like Tony like think that Quill's an idiot, and that just bothers me because literally in the comics, whenever Tony joins the Guardians, like him and Quill become like great friends. Like they get really
Oh yeah.
really close, and it just bothers me a little bit. Like I'm not saying that I needed to see that in the MCU. It's just that it just bothers me that that's their relationship. You know?
I get why they did it
Mm-hmm.
because it's that thing where it's like, the Guardians films. Like here's what I feel like they probably did. They probably looked at like the Guardians movies and thought, oh well, these movies run off of humor that's stupid, so we should do that for this movie. And I will admit, I still do laugh at some of the scenes in Infinity War where like it's just Quill's side and Tony's side just arguing. Like I still laugh at that stuff because I still do think it's kind of funny and quotable, but like from like a contextual standpoint and a character standpoint, not the best creative decision they could have gone for.
Yeah. But I will give them this. It at least seems like Tony has respect for Quill. Like obviously the scene where he does the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Tony's like, "Hey, Quill, you need to chill out." Like, I do think that Tony, like, actually cared about him, and he actually had respect for him.
Especially when like everybody started disappearing and he sees Quill like with a really worried face and he tells him to be steady because it's basically just another way of like, hey bro, keep your composure. And Tony does care about the people that he's leading. And obviously when Quill disappears he's just like, oh shit. I mean, obviously things get worse from there on because look at when Peter fucking dies.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so they definitely kind of like not degraded them, but like they were definitely like misrepresented in those two movies. But what you gonna do? It's what's done is done. But another thing I will say I really like is how it was like confirmed that like Nebula and Rocket got like really close during the events of like those 5 years.
Actually, now that I think about it, you know how the beginning scene of Volume 30 starts off with Quill drinking himself to death and like Nebula and Rocket are talking to each other? When I first watched the movie, I
Mm-hmm.
was just thinking like, oh yeah, they're only talking like this because they're good buddies and they've gotten accustomed to being on the team. Now that you bring that up, that makes me remember that they've been like the only two Guardians for 5 years. So that means they basically
Mm-hmm.
become buddy buddy. And seeing Nebula be so worried about, like, that one scene when she sees like Rocket getting tortured and she says like, this is worse than what happened to me with Thanos. Like when I first heard that, I was like,
Yep.
that's an interesting line. I wonder why she thinks that. And now considering that they're like close friends after the 5 year time skip, she's probably saying that because she cares more about Rocket than herself.
Mm-hmm. Like damn.
God damn, I love Guardians. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Which God, I swear. Like I'm actually genuinely excited to see what Gunn does with Superman now.
Oh
I'm like,
god.
oh shit. Yeah. Dude, especially how he talks about him in interviews, because I swear, like, every time he talks about Superman in interviews, he keeps bringing up, like, the Richard Donner fucking Christopher Reeves version, which, damn, if he's using that for inspiration, let's fucking go.
That moment when the director actually cares about the comics.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's
But,
why I love James Gunn so much. Like, I really like James Gunn just because this guy, like, it's like he actually knows shit about the comics. Like, I don't know if he either researches or he just read comics and already knew about these characters and thought, well, I'll make a few creative differences and put it in a standard where it's, because let me ask you this, Red. Realistically, what could you really have said about Bloodsport from the fucking comic books? Barely anything. Then you get the
Yeah.
movie, and this guy is like, in my opinion at least, one of the best characters in the DCEU.
Also, improved upon his design, which, oh my god.
The original design is booty cheeks, dude.
It's just some guy with a bandana and fucking, like, his portal gun or whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah, like he could like summon guns or some crap. Like the movie kind of made him a little more like interesting because of the whole like every little segment part on the armor was a weapon, and I thought that shit was cool. Like when he was like taking like pieces of the armor off, it was turned into this big fat ass gun.
Also, another thing I love about Gunn is when it comes to, like, the characters and, like, their headgear, I love how he utilizes the headgear, because there will be, like, characters where, like, they take off their mask and, like, then they just never put it on in some comic movies. In this, at the very fucking least, if he's gonna show the face, it's like in scenes where there's no fighting. As soon as there's a fighting scene, boom, they put on their headgear.
Yeah, that's good shit. And
Yeah,
it, and it's and it always ends up looking pretty fucking cool.
I guess swear, fuck. Remember Deadshot in the first Suicide Squad? I swear, bro had his
swear,
mask
bro.
on for like two scenes, and that's it.
I'm sorry, bro. I get it, like they don't want big actors to wear their masks all the time, but I swear, bro wore it in like not even 2 scenes, like 1 scene. And I feel like they purposely made like the little eye thing that still has like his red eye on it without the mask. I feel like they purposely like only made that for the film. Like just so you can still see the mask.
Also, another thing that tells me, like, oh my god, you guys just scrap this together is, dude, oh my god, his fucking little red eye thing, it's on the
Yeah.
wrong fucking eye. You put it on the wrong eye. How do you make a mistake like, okay.
Man, you know something?
Bruh.
The thing that gets me so much about Floyd's mask too is that I think he has to like put it on with his. No, okay, he had it in 2 scenes. There was one where he was like in the middle of like a bounty and he killed a nigga and then he put it on, and then the other was like when they were in the streets and he put that shit on. But here's my thing: I know why he doesn't do it all the time, but it would have been kind of convenient if he just like listen. I really don't like the fucking like trope that superhero movies are doing now, where like the character's mask just like forms on their head, because I think that's kind of lazy. But for some cases, I can give it an excuse, like Quill, Tony, and Iron Spider, and I guess I'll let T'Challa slide. I mean, I still prefer the Civil War suit, but I mean, Shuri did make kind of a good point that like if niggas start jumping him, then he can just activate it because like he has the necklace on. So but I really do hate that happens so often. But it's like with him, that literally could have just been that, because it's kind of weird just watching him just take the mask out of his pocket and put it on, and it's like, okay, that looks a little goofy. I'm not gonna lie. And Bloodsport does the whole like he does the whole like automatic mask thing, on which, goddamn, that mask
Yeah,
is
bro.
cool as fuck.
Fucking dope ass mask, man. And also shout out, I just want to say really quick, shout out to my boy Carl Urban for fucking Dread. He wore the helmet the whole movie. Shout out to him, man.
Bruh. Also, because I think, now, no one quote me on this, but I think in an interview he said he also just, like, liked how cool he looked with it. So he's like, man, I'm keeping this on. Man, it's so cool when, like, the actors, like, they started geeking the fuck out. Like, I know that Pedro Pascal, like, there's, like, this thing that people say where they're like, bro, I heard that Pedro Pascal hates wearing the helmet. Nah, it's just because he has no peripheral vision, which makes sense. The Mando helmet isn't going to give him peripheral vision because of the design. But nah, Pedro Pascal, he fucking loves loves the suit. Bro loves being in it. Bruh. And also another testament to this is that like, dude, okay, this isn't a spoiler, Tatum, but dude, in the entirety of Mando season 3, he never takes off the helmet.
Let's go.
So yeah, this whole thing of like, oh, Pedro Pascal wants to like get rid of the helmet. No, he doesn't.
Don't know where they came up with that shit.
Uh-huh. I swear, bro. Like that whole mask thing. Like again, I get it. Like big actors, but to be fair, I still love how James Gunn doesn't give a shit because there's this one thing I saw in his story where apparently like some fucking executive like heard they were gonna have like Bradley Cooper voicing Rock, and they were like, "Why do you have Bradley Cooper? You're not gonna see his face." And James Gunn just replied, "Dude, it's Bradley Cooper. He's a good actor. You don't need to see his face to like the character."
And they have Vin Diesel
Exactly.
playing fucking Groot, so
Mhm.
literally.
Like, bro, I could care less who the fuck is playing the character.
It's kind of the other thing too with like Peacemaker, because like fucking Peacemaker himself, like he only wears the helmet like whenever he has it. Because notice how like in most scenes or most of the time in the show he doesn't have the helmet because either like an inconvenient situation happened and he doesn't have it at the time, or he just didn't have his helmet. Like in the beginning of the show, I don't even think he had his helmet, so he had to walk around in his bloody ass suit.
Yeah.
Like there's especially because like like the whole like, oh yeah, whenever they fight that's when they had the helmet. Like the one scene where him and Adebayo were walking around and he had the X-ray vision helmet on to see like if they were butterflies or not. And the same goes for Vigilante. Vigilante also had, like, granted he's not like a big actor, but still, like, he had the fucking mask on, and I really liked that he kept the mask on like a lot throughout the show because I really like Vigilante's design.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And he keeps that trend for the Guardians movies where it's like some of these niggas got like helmets and masks and stuff on, or like like Bradley Cooper and Vin Diesel, and it's like it's pretty cool. And all I'm saying is, man, they're probably not going to give Bradley Cooper a shout out for this fucking movie, which is a shame because they really should, because his work for Rocket was legendary. Like, listen, I already thought he was good when he was casted as Rocket in the first two films, Infinity War and Endgame. But the scene where Lila like got shot and fell over and Rocket let out that like guttural scream of agony, dude, that hurt.
Yeah.
Like that genuinely hurt. And it hurt even more when like he started like clawing up the High Evolutionary's face and started like grunting and growling and snarling like a rabid animal, which I do kind of like how they framed that, like the way that it's shot like an animal attack, and I kind of like that.
Mm-hmm. God, so cool. And but yeah, I swear, like James knows what the fuck he's doing with these things.
Yeah, they keep downplaying my man like he's a goober, and it's like, no, he knows what he's doing. Stop playing. Like, are some of his jokes not that funny? Yeah, because I can think of one off the top of my head. It's the scene where like in Volume 2, the Guardians are all like in that really cool shot, and then Mantis gets hit, and then this nigga Drax goes, "Mantis, look out!" Like that shit wasn't funny. It kind of ruined the moment. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Very
And like,
rare James Gunn L.
And like, am I still a little fucking like, am I a little fucking salty still about Henry Cavill and like Gal? Yeah, but fuck it. We'll have to see what he does.
I'm pretty sure we'll find some good actor and actress to play him because, I mean, he's found a good actor and actress for every other character he has, so I'm pretty confident in what he's going to get. And I mean, even then, it could literally be like somebody with the status of Robert Pattinson, but like they do a superb job as Cal or Diana.
Honestly, I do really have faith in James after, he never miscasts a character. Ever.
Oh, God.
Like, never.
Yeah, I can't think of a single casting in like any of his superhero flicks that were like bad or not up to par. Like all the cast, like some of these people are people that I've never heard of. Like I knew who Chris Pratt was. I knew Zoe Saldana and Bradley Cooper, and at this point, everybody knows Vin fucking Diesel because of Fast and Furious. And But then like Dave Bautista, I was like, who the fuck is Dave Bautista?
Yeah, the only reason I knew
Mhm.
him was because he was a wrestler.
Wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, so like you know he'll even cast like big name actors, and they'll do like a good job for like really small roles or roles that aren't like I remember watching Volume 2 on Netflix because I didn't get to see it in theaters, so I ended up waiting till it came on Netflix. I remember seeing Sylvester Stallone. I was like, holy shit, it's Rocky. Or like, dude, I also this is another thing I like. I like that he brings actors from previous films into other ones. Like, Palm Clemente being in Volume 2 and 3, and she was in the Suicide Squad as a cameo, or like Sylvester
Mhm.
Stallone in Volume 2, and him showing up to voice King Shark. Like I like that he brings actors from his other movies into newer movies that he makes. And part of me wants to say that he probably does that because like he's just on really good terms with these people. Because I mean, James Gunn is a nice person, and Dave Bautista, like people call Dave Bautista a dick writer, but I see it more as he just really likes working with the guy. Like it was the relationship with like Guillermo and Ron Perlman, because Ron Perlman liked working for Guillermo.
Mhm. And like another cool thing is that like someone asked James Gunn why like he keeps like putting actors that he's worked with before in like other roles, and like he just very simply put it as like, "Hey man, they're great actors. And like whenever I'm wondering, who would be good for this role?" He's like, "That's right, Dave would be perfect for this." It's like, yeah, if you think about it, it makes sense. Honestly, a great example. Now, not everyone can relate to this, but like let's take okay, I'm gonna be really self-absorbed here. Let's take me for example. Okay, so I'm a stop motion animator. I have my fucking series, and anytime I have like a new character I want to fucking like introduce, I do one of two things. I either just put out a casting call and give anyone a fucking chance, or I'll be doing some shit like I'm like, Jai Addison would be fucking perfect for this role. I'm like, he's great to work with. I know he has the vocal range. Let me offer him the role. That's how it is with fucking James Gunn. He's worked with these people, and whenever he thinks of a character, he's like, this person I've worked with would be perfect for this. So he offers them to the role. It has nothing to do. Well, friendship definitely has a little bit to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's as simple as like, oh, he just gives all his friends the roles. Nah, he just,
And
he gives
plus,
the role to
like,
whoever
you
suiting.
can't even argue that it's only James that does this. So many directors, like before James, have done this before. Like fucking Tim Burton has done it. He has like he uses a lot of the same actors. You know, fucking
Yeah,
this
and
one director I like. His name's Wes Anderson. He uses a lot of the
yeah, West End.
same actors. Like people have been doing it for years.
Yeah, fucking.
Quentin Tarantino uses like a lot of the same actors as well.
Oh yeah. Guess what? This isn't a new thing, dog. And oh my god, remember people got mad that like his wife had a cameo in VOL3.
Yeah,
My
I
brother
still
in
don't
college.
understand
I
why
still
that's a
don't get
problem.
it. Like, what is there to be mad about?
Oh God.
What the fuck? And oh my goodness. Like it's so fucking stupid. And like also this whole thing of like, oh, he like lets the cast of like Suicide Squad and like Peacemaker stay, but like no one else. To be fair, I feel like yeah, most of them are his friends and shit. But honestly, I feel like it's how do I explain this? I don't think it's as simple as like just oh they're his friends and that's why he's letting them keep their roles. You know what I mean? I mean there. I feel like there's something more to it because I mean there's other people
It's kind of
that aren't
like
even in his movies.
what's the
Yeah.
point of recasting these characters when like these are his projects. He worked on the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, so he has whatever rights he wants to do with them. And if he wants to keep the same actors, then he can do that unless like some corporate crap happens that's above his name, and they're like, "No, you can't." And he's like, "Well, I have to abide by that." But for the most part, it's like that's not the case, and they're going to be the same actors playing the same characters because that's what he decides is final.
Also, actually, okay, I just figured out the point I'm trying to make. Notice how all the well, not all of them, but like I feel like a good chunk of the characters that are staying are characters that don't really have anything to do with the wider universe so much. So like motherfuckers like Shazam and the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, those motherfuckers they don't really have anything with the wider universe to do. And like then you have like characters like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman.
Those
They
are the
want to like
mainstays.
yeah, there's like the big ones that he wants to like just reinvent so the universe can be kind of reinvented. Which honestly, I'm down for it now. Again, I'm still salty about Gal and fucking Henry, but fuck it. I want to see what James does. I trust him full time now after fucking seeing what he's capable of and how he can like actually step out of his comfort zone of the Guardian type writing.
Not only just that, but also
Um,
like working around certain problems and stuff, like with the whole like Adam Warlock thing. Like it wasn't perfect, but he worked Adam into the film well enough for me to still actually like Adam. Like it's kind of like what Sam Raimi
mhm.
did with Spidey 3, albeit better in my opinion because Sam Raimi didn't really like Venom, but they forced him to have
Yeah.
Venom in there, and he worked Venom in the movie as best as he possibly could. And it's not the greatest, but at least it still was entertaining.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to kill Peter Parker.
Yeah, that was not a great idea.
Yeah. Anyhow, okay. So, if you guys have nothing else to bring up, I'm thinking we are gonna be in the ending stages of this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anything you guys want to talk about before we
Nope.
end it? What about you?
I think we good.
All right. But yeah. Actually, one thing I'd like to say before I end it is all this MCU hate recently. Here's the thing: I get that Phase 4 was fucking completely unplanned, but I feel like some of the hate for Phase 4, I feel like you need to have way more like critical thinking than just I didn't like the movie. Like I don't like how a good chunk of the hate for some movies are just fucking nonsensical. I still think the hate for Multiverse of Madness were like, oh, the transitions were goofy as fuck. Shut the fuck
Yeah,
up.
bro.
Like it is not that bad. Um and then like the whole hate for like for example Wanda, like now people just are like, oh, she's overrated as fuck now because like people like her now.
Yeah,
Okay.
also I feel like Phase 4 was like supposed to be very experimental, like they were trying new
Oh
things,
yeah.
like Eternals, a lot less action based, more focused on, characters, trying to, try new things basically. She-Hulk was taking more of the comedy route, They were really trying to do
Mm-hmm.
new things.
Oh, absolutely. I respect them for that. They had a lot of misses,
Yeah.
but
And it most definitely
whatever.
it's a good like I feel like it was for the best, honestly. Because, now they
Right.
know what we like and what we don't like.
Mm-hmm. And do I think that from here on out with Guardians is gonna be great? No, I don't think so. But at the very fucking least, Guardians has had an extremely great fucking reception, and like people are just like fucking loving this movie for the most part, anyway. Um, so I'm happy for that. Again, I don't think Phase 5 is gonna be fucking amazing from this point on because I have a feeling it's gonna have like a lot of hits and misses still. But I am excited to see what they do. Um, I'm hoping the Guardians will appear again at some point, whether it be side appearance or another movie that isn't made by Gunn, which is going to be a little weird, but fuck it. I would love to see the Guardians again, especially like the new team we have. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So you guys want to say your goodbyes?
Farewell,
Goodbye.
niggas.
All right. Catch you next time, boys. Let me end this stream.
And these, you know what else you can end? These nuts.